Good afternoon. Welcome to Cedar Lane Unitarian Universalist Congregation, to this service of remembrance and celebration for Catherine K. Scott. I'm the Reverend Abhi Janamanchi, one of the ministers serving this religious community. Thank you for making time to join us this afternoon. Your presence here is a powerful expression of your respect, your affirmation, and your love for Kay. If you're joining us online, please feel free to share your name and where you're joining us from today. If this is your first time in a Unitarian Universalist congregation, we want you to know that we are a part of the congregational Protestant lineage of Christian congregations, and that more than a century ago, we made a covenant that we would build our religious community on the promises we make about how we respect and treat each other, rather than on uniformity or conformity of belief. So as a non-creedal religious community, we honor religious wisdom and spiritual truth from all the great religious traditions of the world, and also in nature and in our own hearts. And when we mourn and grieve, we use our memorial services as occasions to celebrate the life of our loved ones, rather than as an occasion for a proclamation of faith. We honor the fact that each of us here has brought our own spiritual understanding of the mysteries of life and death and the interval in between, and will find consolation in those understandings as we work our way through loss. So we gather this day, summoned by our respect and our affection, to demonstrate our love for both the living and the dead. We gather to comfort one another, for we have suffered a great loss. We gather just as people have gathered for thousands of years at the death of a loved one, a member of the tribe, to remember and do honor to a life well lived, the life of Catherine K. Scott. We come together to remember how blessed we have been, how blessed we are, because Kay was a part of our lives for so long and gave of herself so abundantly to all of us. Now, we can never hope to speak to all aspects and achievements of Kay's life and her legacy of love and service this afternoon. We could try, and we will be here for a while. But what we will share will enrich our understanding of her as a person. And so our best gift to one another today, and our best tribute to Kay both now and in the future, is to hold Kay in our hearts and in our memories as completely as possible, and through our memories, our stories, and our love, to give her back to one another again and again. So today we remember Kay, and we also hold up for each other our gratitude and our joy. In this spirit we gather. In this spirit we begin. As is the custom of our faith tradition, we open this sacred time with the lighting of the chalice. Today, this is the flame of memory and hope that we carry within us as we remember and honor Kay. We acknowledge that a human life is sacred in its beginning and in its end. So as members of the pastoral visitor team come forward to kindle the memorial flame, I invite us all to rise together in body and or in spirit to share the chalice lighting words that are printed in your order of service. Let us speak the words together. We light this chalice in loving memory of our beloved friend and spiritual companion, Kay Scott, and in tribute to the love a single life can inspire. May the chalice remind us of the extravagant gift of life. May it signify the community we create in our being together and our sharing together. Thank you. You may be seated.
Good afternoon. I wish I had the confidence that Catherine had. In my many years of knowing my beloved Catherine, I was blessed to receive from her English lessons, many of them, her mentorship, her friendship, but above all, her motherly love and care. I loved her very much. I will always love her. I enjoyed and appreciated every minute of our gatherings, which I am missing and which I always miss. What I am going to read is a poem that was cherished by Catherine and one which I truly believe she lived by. Gentleness in Living by your own Reverend Richard S. Gilbert. Be gentle with one another. The cry comes out of the hurting heart of humanity. It comes from the lives of those battered with thoughtless words and brutal deeds. It comes from the lips of those who speak them and the lives of those who do them. Be gentle with one another. Our lives are like fragile eggs. They are brittle. They crack and the substance escapes. Handle with care. Handle with exceeding tender care, for there are human beings there within. Life is too transient to be cruel with one another. It is too short for thoughtlessness. It is too brief for hurting. Life is long enough for caring. It is lasting enough for sharing. Precious enough for love. Be gentle with one another. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna Maria. Please rise in body and or in spirit to sing For the Beauty of the Earth, number 21 in the hymnal. Katharina, Catherine, K. Maria Frisone Scott was born on September 29, 1917, in Boston, Massachusetts, to Concertina and Giovanni John Frisone. Kay had a younger brother, John, who was 8 years younger than her. John passed away in 2016. Their parents were Italian immigrants who came to the U.S. in the early 1900s. Her father, John, a barber by profession, owned a number of hair salons, a beauty parlor, a restaurant, and other real estate. Her mother, Conzi, was an able partner to John in all his business endeavors. After high school, Kay earned her bachelor's degree in education in 1938 and a Master of Education in 1939 from Teachers College of Boston, later the University of Massachusetts at Boston. Kay then taught high school for a few years at Northborough High School in Northborough and Barnstable High School in Hyannis, Massachusetts. And during World War II, Kay worked as an administrative assistant and later on as an editor at the MIT Radiation Lab. There, she met her late husband, Dr. Elmer J. Scott, a physicist. They got married in 1944. Kay and Elmer had two sons, Kenneth, Ken, who lives in Worcester, Ohio, and John, who died in 1981. The family moved to Maryland in 1948 when Elmer started working as a physicist at the Naval Ordnance Laboratory in White Oak, Maryland. Elmer also taught physics at the University of Maryland. Elmer died in 1975. In 1958, Kay joined the faculty of Montgomery College, where she taught secretarial studies. After almost 30 years of teaching, Kay retired in 1986 as a professor emerita of business education. Kay met Tilman Nooner in the spring of 1998 at a singles dance in Washington, D.C. She said it was love at first sight. We danced and danced into the night, she said. And then Tilman took her out. And then they went out again and again. Kay and Tilman were married at Cedar Lane on April 12, 2018. I was honored and delighted to officiate at their wedding. Tilman died in November 2018. Kay was an integral and involved member of her beloved Cedar Lane since its inception in 1951, when she was a Sunday school teacher's helper for 4-year-olds at the Chevy Chase Women's Club, where this congregation used to meet. Across the decades, Kay was involved in Cedar Lane's many social justice initiatives, including the Olive Oil Ministry, supporting Palestinian agriculture, fair housing, environmental justice, racial justice, and Action in Montgomery, AIM. Kay was a board member of Unitarian Universalists for Social Justice for many years, keeping Cedar Lane's social justice committees informed of opportunities to advocate for justice in national legislative deliberations. Kay also cherished her deep friendships with many Cedar Lane members who became her family. I feel the church has literally saved and enhanced my life. Its core principles and caring members have sustained and uplifted me, she said a few years ago at a Cedar Lane Legacy Society event. In June 2022, Kay was conferred with the highest honor the congregation can bestow, the Distinguished Service Award to the cause of Unitarian Universalism. In the larger community, Kay served on the advisory board of Housing Unlimited, a Montgomery County nonprofit that ensures housing for adults with mental illness for many years, and then later on the advisory board. She was a noted philanthropist who generously supported many causes and organizations, including Montgomery College, UMass Boston, Washington University in St. Louis, the Smithsonian Institution, and Cedar Lane, among others. She established the Catherine F. Scott Educational Endowment Fund and also an endowed scholarship for students at the Tacoma Park Silver Spring campus of Montgomery College, and made a $1 million bequest to the Montgomery College Foundation in 2013. The college honored Kay by renaming the Commons building as the Catherine F. Scott Commons, and she also made a major commitment in 2013 to UMass Boston to establish the Catherine Frazone Scott Italian Cultural Studies Fund at the university in memory of her beloved brother John. And in March 2022, Kay was conferred an honorary doctorate for public service by Montgomery College. We will hear more from Francine when she speaks. Kay loved music, opera, theater, art, good food, and she enjoyed spending time with her many friends. Kay passed away peacefully at Suburban Hospital on December 22nd, 2022. She was 105 years young.
Good afternoon. I'm honored to be with you today to represent the thousands of Montgomery College students who were and who will continue to be positively impacted by the life's work of Professor Emerita Catherine F. Scott. It is not surprising that people marvel when they hear that Catherine lived to be 105 years of age. But for Catherine Scott, the real marvel is not in how long she lived, but in how she lived, with purpose and in service to others. As a member of the Montgomery College Foundation's team, I had the pleasure of supporting Catherine in her role as philanthropist and foundation board member emerita. As with everything she did, Catherine approached her work with the foundation with tenacity and focus. She also brought this important role a keen understanding of our students and what they needed. For 30 years, the students of Montgomery College were the beneficiaries of Catherine's time and talent. And even after stepping away from the day-to-day demands of her role as chair of the Department of Education, Catherine's belief in the potential of our students never waned. She understood better than most the difference a scholarship could have on an individual and a family. So she gave generously to ensure that scholarship support would be available. Many of you were at the 100th birthday party celebration that we celebrated on the campus for Catherine. But Catherine didn't limit her support to our students. She also was credited with encouraging her Montgomery College colleagues. One such colleague was Davy Ellen Chabner, who taught alongside Catherine for many years and who described Catherine as visionary, perceptive, kind, and courageous. According to Davy Allen, Catherine not only encouraged her to write a medical terminology book, but she said Catherine was persistent in her urging, and all of us know that feeling when we're with Catherine. She urged her to complete the textbook. Now, in its 12th edition, the language of medicine continues to be taught in college classrooms around the country, including to Montgomery College Health Sciences students to this day. In recognition of Catherine's mentoring and support, Davy Ellen and her husband established the Davy Ellen and Catherine F. Scott Language of Medicine Scholarship. As Reverend Abbey mentioned, Catherine's generosity supports several cohorts of Montgomery College students, students who are first in their families to attend college, high-achieving students in the Business Honors Program, and students with family responsibilities who are also studying in the health sciences. Most of us know that at her core, Catherine Scott was a teacher. Whether she was standing in front of a classroom of students, a boardroom of fellow directors, or in a church of fellow worshipers, Catherine taught us through example. And on a personal note, I was greatly inspired by the many hours that Catherine and I spent together. Her sensitivity to others, her fierce independence, and her strength beyond expectation will always be with me. Catherine's legacy is not in how many years she lived, rather it is how she made the most of each and every day that comprised her remarkable, inspiring, and absolutely beautiful life. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Abe Schuckman, and I'm the CEO of Housing Unlimited. We're a nonprofit affordable housing corporation in Montgomery County. Our mission is to promote community integration and independence for folks in mental health recovery. And we do it by purchasing homes, beautiful homes scattered throughout Montgomery County, near public transportation, employment, shopping, and support services. Catherine was one of the founding board members of Housing Unlimited and served on our board of directors starting in 1998 and served from 1998 to 2008 on our board and then thereafter on our advisory board. She was introduced to us by another founding board member, Carmela Boncor-Singer, and they had met at a Italian-American civic organization. Catherine shared with me that she was attracted to our mission because she had a family member impacted by mental health challenges. And Catherine was the kind of person who she would not stand on the side. She rolled up her sleeves and she got very, very involved immediately. And over these 30-plus years that I've known her, she was very, very consistent. She was a very strong fundraiser for Housing Unlimited, both in terms of her personal gifts and also in terms of reaching out to her family and friends. She served in many roles at Housing Unlimited. She, for example, served on our annual event, our Welcome Home Celebration Committee. She worked with her Brookmont community on a Help the Homeless walk to benefit Housing Unlimited. She was a table sponsor at our celebration and invited many people from Cedar Lane. She reached out to the Social Justice Council here at Cedar Lane to forge a partnership with Housing Unlimited, which we're very grateful. She sweated the details. On the celebration committee, she helped with our silent auction, and she had a favorite restaurant, and she was determined to get a gift card from that restaurant for the silent auction. I think she had to go several times, so it was an expensive endeavor for her, but ultimately secured that gift card. She was a fierce advocate for affordable housing in general and for the affordable housing needs of vulnerable folks, including folks in mental health recovery in particular. Many occasions, I would see Catherine and Tillman at the Montgomery County Affordable Housing Conference, and she was right there talking to the local politicians and advocating with all of us. She was active in AIM, Action in Montgomery, and Housing Limited and AIM are members of the Montgomery Housing Alliance. So I would see Catherine and Tillman at AIM events, and it was always very impressive for me to see both of them networking and advocating for various social justice endeavors. She was an expert in real estate, and early on I remember coming to her and conveying a challenging situation. I was fairly new. This is in the early 2000s. I was fairly new in my role, and I explained to her that we had recently purchased a home in a beautiful Bethesda community. But shortly thereafter, I'd received a call from the attorney for the condo association, not happy with me and questioning why I had not come to him first to, I guess, get permission for Housing Limited to purchase in the community. And I was sharing this with Catherine, and practically in mid-sentence, she interrupted me and said, you have every right to be in the community like everyone else. And you just be the very best homeowner. You have the very best tenants. And she was right. And I always kept that message and that lesson with me. She was a great, great source of strength, a great advocate, and a great friend. And everyone at Housing Limited misses her very much. Thank you.
Speak to my forehead. Hello, my name is Nancy Bellantoni, and I'm one of Kay's cousins from Boston. I'm reading a tribute to Kay written by Marcelo Suarez Orozco, who is the chancellor at the University of Massachusetts, Boston. Catherine Frizzone Scott, our friend Kay, was a teacher. That was her profession. But even more so, she had the spirit and heart of an educator. She prepared herself through her own schooling to be effective in sharing knowledge and helping others grow. She taught at the secondary and collegiate levels. As a leader, she developed curricula and programs that shaped lives and careers. It wasn't simply what she did, it was a part of who she was. I will never forget a reception in the Washington, D.C. area for UMass Boston alumni that Kay attended. We gathered at the top of the Hay Adams Hotel. Kay was UMass Boston's oldest alumna, and once our alumni learned she was there, a receiving line of folks who wanted to say hello formed in front of her. She was a celebrity, and she took time to speak with every single person, sharing a bit of connection or encouragement. In true Beacon fashion, she was luminous, drawing others towards her and brightening the room with her presence. Long after her classroom days were behind her, she was still committed to giving her time and experience to improve the lives of those she encountered. Kay's life, marked by her love of learning, her passion for connecting with people, and her immense generosity has left an indelible legacy on UMass Boston. I am grateful to have known Kay, and am happy to know that she will forever live on at UMass. Through the Catherine Frizzoni Scott Center for Italian Cultural Studies, which she established in memory of her brother John, as well as the Catherine F. Scott Educational Endowment Fund that will be founded in her memory. May we all be so devoted to improving the lives of those around us and be rewarded with the longevity that allows us to extend our impact for as long as we are able. May the example and memory of Kay's life be a blessing to us all, and may her eternal rest after a life well lived bring peace to all who knew her.
I'm going to read a poem that Kay had left as something she wanted read at her service. It's by Barter by Sarah Teasdale. Life has loveliness to sell, all beautiful and splendid things. Blue waves whitened on a cliff, soaring fire that sways and sings, and children's faces looking up, holding wonder like a cup. Life has loveliness to sell, music like a curve of gold, scent of pine trees in the rain, eyes that love you and arms that hold you. And for your spirit still delight, holy thoughts that star the night. Spend all you have for loveliness. Buy it and never count the cost. For 1 hour of singing peace, count many a year of strife well lost. And for a breath of ecstasy, give all that you have been or could be.
Hi, Mother. Well, I never thought I'd be doing this. I thought you'd be doing it for me, due to certain people. Any rate, I miss you one heck of a lot, and quite frankly, I still expect you to call me every night between 8 p.m. and 10 p.m. I'm having a hard time dealing with this. But at least the only good part is you don't have pain that we're going through with everything. Your heart, your kidneys, and the water in your lungs, you know. And there is no pain anymore. And I hope you are experiencing heaven the way that I described it to you, because you sure deserve it. I don't know how much more time I got, but I don't exactly look forward to any funeral services. But at least, heck, the family will all be together. Mother, you're going to see John, Dad, your brother, your mother, your father, Frida Malone, Harry Malone, everybody you ever were friends with. I don't know what else to say. So I really hope you have an easy time. Amen.
I'm Sonia Hess, and I'm here to honor and celebrate the life of Catherine Scott, an incredible woman that we had the privilege to know and love. I still recall how I had an appointment with Catherine to view her basement apartment. I expected this to last approximately 10 minutes, while my then boyfriend, now husband Michael, was waiting in our car. This interview lasted for several hours. She had a very thorough approach and wanted to get to know her potential tenant before she would make a decision. Meanwhile, my husband's patient was tested while he was considering the possibility that I may have been abducted in the process. Suffice it to say that Catherine and I formed an immediate bond and that we were both convinced that this would be a good fit. And thus began the formation of a deep friendship. In fact, I think she and I share a number of personality traits, as her late husband Tillman did with my husband. Seems like a good combination. So over the years, we have become very close friends. As some of you know and have heard today, I was her maid of honor when she got married to Tillman at the young age of 99. And there would be a lot of stories to tell about that, but I will leave that for another time. We meant a lot to each other. When I think of her attributes, fiercely independent probably stands out most, and I think I have heard this a couple of times here today already. She seemed to defy age with ease. She was also a tenacious and resilient woman extraordinaire. She was a lifelong learner and maintained a curiosity to learn new things until her very last days. She also placed high importance on being fair and carefully evaluated options. Apart from her BMW, she was thrifty when it came to her own needs and very generous with others. She was also an educator and placed high value in education of others to enable them empowering themselves. She had a good sense of humor. I'm sure many of you will recognize these traits in her. When most other people start to slow down, she seemed to just getting started. Of the many things she was proud of, I want to mention a few things you have heard here today before, and that is her influence on the best-selling book, The Language of Medicine by Davy Allen Chapner. Her philanthropy for the Montgomery College in Maryland also meant a lot to her, and which is in line with how much she valued education. In 2019, she founded the Catherine Frisone Scott Italian Center for Italian Cultural Studies. You've heard that too, in memory of her younger brother, John Frisone. And you heard this before. So she was also on the board of directors of Housing Unlimited, with the mission empowering people in mental health recovery to live independently, which was dear to her heart. So on her 105th birthday, she got a letter from the President Biden that you can see on some of the photos in the slideshow. What an incredible woman. We will miss her, and miss her already greatly, and keep her in our spirits.
Hi, my name is Martha Frisone, and I am Kay's niece. So we called her Aunt Kay because, having grown up in Massachusetts, my mother would not allow me to use the word aunt unless I was referring to the things we don't want in our homes. So I was incredibly close to my aunt. And I think part of it was because I was born in Washington, D.C. My parents lived on Georgia Avenue in Silver Spring, Maryland, which I don't know that one would want to walk to Sanford Road. Probably isn't safe, but I don't think it's very far away. My mother and Aunt Kay were besties. They did a lot together. I saw a lot of my aunt. Every time we moved away when I was 7 months old, so we never lived in the same place again, but we visited a lot because she and my father were incredibly close. They remained incredibly close till he died in 2016. And in fact, if it hadn't been for her, I wouldn't have known I needed to find out what had happened to him on Christmas in 2015. He had left my house and he got into an auto accident and had been taken to an emergency room. And when she couldn't reach him for her chat with him, because it was a holiday, she called me frantic, and of course then I was frantic. So I had to call her when we found out where he was. And she immediately came down with Tillman, like 2 days later. And at that point, my father was quite confused. And so before she went back in the ICU to see him, I sat down and I said, look, I don't know if he's even going to know who you are. She said, he will. I have no idea. Because only so many people were allowed in the ICU, I don't know how that conversation went. For her sake, I hope he did realize who she was. They called each other at least weekly. I don't know that they missed very many weeks. And even until my father was 90, she would call on Sunday after 11. Now, for those of you who are old enough, the rates used to go down for long-distance calls on Sundays after 11. Of course, at this point, it wasn't material, but nevertheless. So I will miss her a great deal. When I was little and we would visit Washington, we did that a lot. She would always make time to take me to the Washington Monument. We didn't climb the stairs, though. She took me to art museums. We just did so much. And I remember I only have one nephew, and I remember when he was born, praying that I would have the same relationship with him that I had had with my aunt. Thank you.
Jack Frazzoni, nephew. There's going to be a theme to this memory. Teresa and I have one son, Sam. Aunt Kay took a great interest in Sam when he was born, especially his education. And as time went on, she established a 529 plan for him and contributed to it throughout his life. And it put him through school at North Carolina State University, studying engineering. And she took even more pleasure in knowing that he enjoyed teaching. And then when he announced that he was going to seek his doctorate at the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, I did not know, but she was very thrilled because apparently Uncle Scott was there, and they lived there for a time. She was a little disappointed that he was not as enamored with MIT as she was. But I think going to University of Michigan was a great thing. And she was even more happy to know that Sam intends to seek being a professor when he graduates. She took a great deal of pride and pleasure in knowing that Sam was going to choose the same profession that she dedicated her life to.
I'm John Gubbings, a friend of Kay's. I first met Kay when I joined the Unitarian Universalists for Social Justice, known as UUSJ. She was on its board as liaison to Cedar Lane. Here's a video of Kay talking about why she was involved in social justice activities at Cedar Lane and UUSJ.
My name is Catherine Scott, and I'm a member of the Cedar Lane Unitarian Universalist congregation. I became a member of the Social Justice Council at Cedar Lane basically because I was interested in people, in helping people. I had been a member for a long time of something called Housing Unlimited, which provides housing for people with mental illness. And it seemed to me as though this might be a good spot for me to focus my efforts. So I did join, and I then became the representative to the regional organization, the UUSJ in the national capital, I think is the new name. And I like working on projects that help people to live better, safer lives and more fulfilling lives. And I think, for example, we're working on a number of projects. One is the climate, and I think it's very important that we emphasize climate and that people know the truth about climate and they don't listen to the people who are denying climate change, and that we work to improve the economy for the working class and for people who are struggling to make ends meet, and also that we work for equality and that Black Lives Matter. And I think this is the general area. These are the areas that I'm concerned with. Thank you very much for listening.
Kay and her partner Tillman came to Environmental Justice Committee meetings I attended. We connected, and when they decided to marry, I was Tillman's best man. Later, when the MVA forced Kay to take her driver's license test again, I drove her. She passed all, except backing into a parking place. I undertook to teach her how, but despite many training sessions, during which she was often successful, she never did pass that portion of the MBA test. In the meantime, I undertook getting her to appointments and activities. Uber technology just did not work for her. Her eyesight and hearing were worsening, so she was having more and more trouble with her cell phone and computer. That's okay. I don't know why I'm being so emotional about it. They spoke too fast for her on the phone and in offices, so I was often a translator. She said she could always understood what I said. All this led to almost daily involvement helping Kay with my wife Kathy's support. Kay became a part of our family and Kathy's close friend. Anna Marie Sanchez was helping with weekly grocery buying and cooking with Kay. And Mala Wedberg of Cedar Lane's Pastoral Visitors Committee often filled in for me when I needed it. Carolyn Morrissey helped Kay with her financial matters and paperwork. Kay did experiment unsuccessfully with using an aide. The last month of Kay's life was intense with a hospital stay, another try at having an aide, a nursing home stay, and her last hospital stay. She donated most of her resources to education, and in the end, her body to the Uniformed Services University Medical School. She was a force of nature. Kay wanted me to take up her role as Ken's advocate within the trusts she set up for Ken. I will have such a role as trust protector with the trust succeeding the current one. Her spirit will live on.
Her spirit will live on. Thank you, John, for your caring and your support and your companionship. Kay was a force of nature, wasn't she? I mean, she was, what, around 5 feet, 5 feet, 2 inches, thereabout. barely. But she was a force to reckon with. That sparkle in her eyes and the sharpness of her mind, not dulled by age, even when her body was not keeping up. The 38,403 days she lived on this earth are one heck of a milestone. Her spine would straighten with pride each time she was reminded that she was over 100. Kay was sharp, bright, cogent, frugal, generous, resilient, tenacious, stubborn, and obstinate, almost dogmatically at times. She bluntly refused moving out of her beloved home and going into any kind of assisted living. Kay was funny. She could be snarky too at times. And she was a relisher of the sublime. Be it her love for good music and good food and good wine, or dancing with her beloved Tillman. Overall, I think I've had a pretty good life, was all she said when I asked her thoughts on turning 105 last fall. Kay was a bit of a collector, right, Carolyn? A compiler, a completist of all things mundane and commonplace, who had a hard time throwing things out. And she was incredibly generous, bequeathing substantial legacy gifts to Montgomery College, UMass, Washington University in St. Louis, and of course her beloved Cedar Lane. Kay was a religious, social, and political liberal, and proud of it, with a strong and abiding sense of justice, equity, and fairness. Kay gave us many blessings, and we've heard and experienced many. And she received a myriad as well. Most importantly, at the end of her life, from John and Kathy and Anna Maria and Mala and Carolyn and others who surrounded her with love, helping her let go and companioning her through the final transition. The poet Nancy Wood writes, "Hold on to what is good, even if it is a handful of earth. Hold on to what you believe, even if it is a tree which stands by itself. Hold on to what you must do, even if it is a long way from here. Hold on to life, even when it is easier letting go. Hold on to my hand, even when I have gone from you." When someone we love dies, someone who has lived a full and good life, someone who has made an impact on the world, someone whose life was intertwined with our own, when someone we love dies, we are faced with the balance of deep loss and deep appreciation of their life, holding on to lessons, to memories, to voices and faces, and letting go of the daily assurance of their presence, the wisdom of their counsel, the warmth of their embrace. In Tuesdays with Morrie by Mitch Albom, Morrie says, "It is natural to die. The fact that we make such a big such a big fact about it is all because we don't see ourselves as part of nature. We think because we are human, we have something above nature. We're not. Everything that gets born dies. Now here's the payoff, he says, and continues, as long as we can love each other and remember the feeling of love we had, we can die without ever really going away. All the love you create is still there. All the memories are still there. You live on in the hearts of everyone you have touched and nurtured while you were here. Death ends a life, not a relationship. The relationships we all had with Kay are still alive in all of us. The pieces of her that are imprinted on us are still present. The love and the laughter, the tears and the struggles, the gifts and the examples are still a part of who we are. So friends, let us continue to tend to these relationships. Let us continue to gather as Kay's friends and tell our Kay stories. This is what eternal life means. Kay has risen today and lives in all of us. We see her face and feel her spirit. What she animates in us touches us all. And all the love we create is still there. All the memories are still there. She lives on in the hearts of everyone she touched and nurtured while she was here. My colleague, the Reverend Leslie Takahashi, wrote, "In the daily weave of our lives, those who have died are still strong guiding threads. Theirs is the golden glimmer, or perhaps the brilliant red, or the melancholy blue. Still they are part of the whole cloth of our lives in the hour-to-hour rush of our daily tasks. They travel with us through something they taught us which is now ours to do, through something they loved which is now ours to carry out, through something we shared which is now ours alone and yet not." So in the minute-to-minute grasp of where we are, we remember the joys Kay gave us, which opened us up to hope, the sorrows we knew together, which taught us strength, the life shared, which is now ours to steward. And in the second-to-second pulse of life, we sense Kay's spirit. She is more than remembered, she is memory itself. For what we love lives on in the way our beloved Kay accompanies us through our life. Her words and wisdom, our guide, her humor, our relief, her restless concern, her fretting for the world, our charge. So I close with this poem by an unknown author, which says, "Let the music play, I would dance always, dance till the dawn of the bright young day. Wild notes are sounding, swift lights are glancing, and I am mad with the rapture of dancing, mad with a breathless delight, with your arm to enfold me, your strong hand to hold me. I could dance through an endless night. Does the music play, or is it, oh say, but the sound of your voice that I hear far away? Is it thy smile or the sweet lights glancing? Is it your presence or only the dancing makes the whole world so glad? Love I, me, or the dance, or you? Am I mad, am I mad, am I mad? Bid the music play, let us dance away through all life through all time, dance forever and I. Such wild notes are sounding, such bright lights are glancing, and I am mad with the madness of dancing. Of dancing or dancing with thee? Let your heart's love enfold me, your heart's strength uphold me. Let us dance till earth ceases to be. Let us dance. Let it be a dance. Please rise in body and or in spirit to sing number 311. Now, this is an unfamiliar hymn for some of you, but this is what Kay wanted for her service, and she's going to have it, and we're all going to sing it together. Let it be a dance.
And to help you through that, we're going to learn a little bit of this. So, the song starts out, and it will repeat itself. It's kind of a calypso beat, so have fun with it. It starts out with, let this be a dance we do. Go ahead and try it. Let this be a dance we do. Now we're going to take that same note. May I have this dance with you. Try it. And then the next part. Through the good times and the bad times too. Through the good times and the bad times too. 1, 2, let it be a dance. And it repeats through that and then goes on to the 3rd and 4th page and back to the beginning. May that stands with you through the good times and the bad times too. Let it be a dance.
Today is a closing and an opening, a saying goodbye and a saying hello again. So while we say farewell to the Kay we knew and love, we greet the Kay who has now become a part of us, the Kay who lives on with us as the love which is in our hearts. Dear Kay, your life we honor. Your departure we accept. Your memory we cherish. Rest now, beloved Kay. At the end of your years with us, your part is now played. Rest in our hearts and our minds of all of us who love you. Rest in peace. Friends, go in peace. Go making peace, living gently, loving fiercely, and going held in the embrace of the deep and abiding mystery of which we are a part. May it be so. I invite you to stay seated for the postlude, after which we will gather in the lounge for a memorial reception where we will share more stories and memories of Kay.
That I'm about to play is by Ralph Vaughan Williams, and it is from his 3 Welsh hymn tunes, Rose Midra, which translates to lovely.